Hey, what's up? This is Matt Dietz, and this is Agency Launch. This is the show where I talk about what it's like to run an insurance agency. I've been doing this for 18 years now, and I want to help you avoid the many landmines that have been laid out in front of you. So I talk about staffing and retention and sales and marketing, and I appreciate you listening. Do me a favor, if you want to chat with me, I'm starting some new stuff with Agency Launch, and anybody that wants some help with their agency, send me a text to 208-213-8809 and just write chat with Matt. And I will send you a calendar to book a call with me. Okay. Let's connect. I want to get to know you, see how we can help each other. Today on the show, it's a little bit different. I decided to invite a gentleman on who actually his name is Jay Falconio, and he is the operating manager of Remco Insurance out of Philadelphia. And Jay has been listening to the show, and he was curious on if I'd really respond to a text. And so he joined my texting community, and we started chatting, and we got on a call. And I was like, Jay, you need to be on my show. I think you have some good stuff to share with the listeners. And so we did record an episode. He's been in the industry for about 4 years now. He's helped grow his shop from 3 to 12 people. They're killing it right now. So we talk about a lot of good stuff, how to scale, how to build culture, how to get out and market, just really good, solid business advice on how to do the right things in this industry. It's tough. And so when I align and find people who are doing it right, I want to help spread the gospel. This is how you do it. Okay. So Jay, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your insight and your input. You guys are doing a heck of a job out there. And here's to all your good fortune. But let's stop listening to me and let's see what Jay has to teach us today. All right, on with the show. All right. Well, I am joined today with my new friend, Jay Falconio, who is the operations manager of Remco Insurance. Did I get that right?
You got it right. And
Nice.
I'm proud to say, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Well, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great getting to know you a little bit. We chatted last week, and I think you have some stuff to share that will help others. So I'm all about sharing information. So why don't you tell me a little bit about how long you've been in insurance? How did you get in insurance? You're in Philadelphia, right?
That's right. Greater Philadelphia area, Bucks
Yep.
County to be very specific. Yep.
I did. And you're from, have you lived there your whole life?
All my life.
So you're Phillies
All
fan?
31 years. Yeah. Phillies fans, Eagles.
All right.
Sixers.
You guys are having a good second half of the year for the Phillies.
That's true. That's true. And I know you're a big baseball guy too. I remember hearing about your Chicago Fenway Subway series. You taking some time off from work.
Yeah.
Just like
I was in Philly. We caught a game at Citizens Bank.
Citizens Bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, shout out to Carl. He's one of my fellow colleagues who got me kind of in on your podcast, and I really gobbled them all up. I think our mission at Remco coincides very similar to your 18 plus years in the industry. And I was just kind of nodding my head at a lot of the things you were saying. And I'm like, well, I'm doing that, or I want to do that. And I'm like, this guy gets it. So cheers and keep doing that.
Thank you.
Keep active with that podcast, because that's why we're here. So yeah, so my background in insurance is only stemming about 4 years. I have more of a experience with hospitality management, and I really like to talk a little bit about that today, and how hospitality can shape or reshape the misnomers of the insurance agency.
Yes, I hope we talk a lot about that, because I agree with you. What was your background in hospitality prior to insurance?
I went to school for hospitality management. I went to Penn State University, a pretty prestigious program out there. They were having Marriotts of the world and your Dardens all trying to recruit you right from college. And I took that degree, and I focused more on the meal service space. I thought that restaurants were great, but I think that the average millennial didn't really have time to go out, and we were trying to put those meals on their plate through UP, like through delivery rather. So yeah. Anyway, fast forward, to graduating and finding solace in opening up a meal delivery service with my childhood friend, which was a risk. So
Yep.
we ended up doing 5.5 years of a startup, as much as
Good.
a startup as you can imagine. And after 5.5 years of grinding and struggle, we ended up having the opportunity to kind of exit it very lucratively. And after that, spent about 6 months just chilling, just trying to
Nice.
enjoy my life a little bit at the age of, 27, until a mentor of mine who followed my success throughout the meal delivery service realm invited me to help grow his 3-person agency in 2019.
Great.
And that was my entry. That was my entrance into the career.
Jay, tell me real quick, what was it about hospital? Do you remember like a moment in time, whether it was high school or an experience that you had where you were like, this experience really impacted me and I'd like to duplicate that when I grow up, or something like that? Like,
Sure.
what moment was it that hospitality kind of struck your soul and you were like, this is for me?
There's a definition that I learned, and it is a hospitality coin definition. It's called a moment of truth. And a moment of truth can be defined as a 5-second experience out at a restaurant, or a 5-hour experience out at a restaurant. It could be, a snapshot in time, or a long experience where your perception of that experience, that business, has forever changed, whether it's for the positive or the negative.
Yeah.
I was taught that definition early in my education process, and I liked to make sure I was always delivering positive moments of truth. And a lot of that could be touching by a table and saying how was everything tonight, or it could be in a negative light. It could be, my steak was undercooked and now I had to eat that for 2 hours, and that was a 2-hour horrible moment of truth. So I think what I like to do is be the hero that you say you are, and do the little things right, treat people like people, and take the time to really, really deliver personality driven practices.
Love all of that. And I agree with it. I did a LinkedIn post last week. I was reminiscing about an experience that I had. I had a moment of truth in my first year as an agency owner. I went to an achievement club and I met the agent of the year with my company, which was like, he was like the president to me at the time. I was like, oh my God, he's killing it. He's been doing it for a long time. And he gave me 5 minutes of his time. He was really kind. Everybody wants a piece of this guy. And he was really nice. He answered, my rookie questions. He gave me his card. He's like, Matt, if you ever need anything, call me. And he's, 10 states away, whatever. But like, if someone's going to give me their card and give me that invite, I'm going to dial the number at some point, I'll be like, all right, kind of like you did with me, right?
I was just gonna say, you threw it out there, and I'm like, I wonder how many people actually text this guy.
Yeah. So I called him a couple months later
Yeah.
because I was struggling with something in regards to staffing. And like, he took my call and I spent a half an hour with him. And I was like, that was amazing. He didn't have to do that, and it's been 18 years. I've never forgot it. And I was like, I want to be like him when I grow up, kind of. And so I'm trying to pay it forward and do the same. It's just, it really set the table for the right thing to do, so.
I think you're
And
living up to it. I mean, case in point, we're here right now. That was 2 weeks ago where I really texted you, and I was really happy with you really are the person that you broadcast yourself out to be. So that was refreshing.
thank
Um,
you. All right, so let's talk about when you jump ship. You're like, let's see what this insurance world is all about. You
Yeah.
went to work for your buddy who at the time had 3 employees. Were you like number 4?
I was 4, yeah. So there was some ownership involved in that, and there was a long tenured employee who has retired now. But when I entered into the agency, it reminded me very much like my father. He's a podiatrist. He has his own practice, and he has 2 secretaries, and they've been his secretaries for like 30 years, and he
Yeah.
hasn't changed. This man doesn't have a cell phone. So that explains it. So when I walked into Remco in 2019, I was like, this makes me feel like my dad's office,
Nice.
for the good and the better, for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
good and the worse, rather. I saw a lot of outdated processes, but then I saw a lot of love and a lot of care, and I saw a lot of culture. So there were a lot of good building blocks there. And you asked kind of how should I introduce you as your role? Well, that's kind of changed. I would say that my roles have morphed almost every year, and it's just what needed to be done. And I think
Yeah.
my mentors saw that in me, that I had that kind of chameleon. I'm able to kind of change shape into certain things that I need to be in the business world. So my first year, I was very much operations. I was looking at technology. I was learning the process of an independent insurance agency. Coming from the hospitality background, I was understanding the difference between direct bill and agency bill, and I was trying to research different types of CRMs that could kind of do a lot of this for us. So my first year, we did find a CRM. We use Applied's Epic, and we still use them to this day. And we are using the system properly now.
Nice.
I'm proud to say that. There was a lot of growing pains with that. So my first year was really heavily investing in technology to try to streamline some operations.
Let me
Showing
let me
people.
yeah,
Good.
let me dig into that for a sec.
Sure.
How hard was it to get some of the folks who have been in that agency for a long time to adopt this new technology? I talk to a lot of agents who purchase books of business, and they come in and they absorb the team and the staff. And, sometimes you run up against well, we've always done it this way, mentality, but you've got a new sheriff in town, right? You're like, well, this is technically a new company now. And we're going to do things a different way. What were some things that you did to onboard new, sophisticated, challenging technology to a workforce that, maybe was a little behind the times?
Sure. First and foremost, learn their process. Make sure that whatever you implement doesn't mess something up or do the job wrong. They clearly have
Sure.
been doing things since 2008. I get involved in 2009, so their system was working. So learn the process. I would sit with each employee for an 8-hour shift, really take detailed notes, and then go and research my technology at home. So once finding a technology to implement, when you take the time to teach them and properly how to use it, and you can explain it from beginning to end, that their process, more old school, is still the same process, but it takes them 5 minutes instead of 5 hours, it really, really wins people over. And
Right.
I think the biggest barrier that you need to overcome when it comes to someone who's more tenured or maybe not as technologically savvy is that technology is intimidating. These are very
Sure.
smart people who work in this industry. This woman was 26 years, I'm referencing. So, how is some guy who, used to ship meals coming in here with his Ralph Lauren shirt trying to spit the technology on you? You really just got to let them know that, it's okay not to understand, and it's okay to, struggle with this, but we're going to do this right. And then it's going to make your life more simple. And then they fall in love with it.
Yeah. I think I'm sure you did this too, but really listening to their concerns.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's complicated. They've been doing, their habits are really deeply ingrained. Like they have their probably 9 to 5 job, they know what they're doing every day. And now this kid's coming in and he's going to shake it up. So you got to build some early trust. You really have to listen to their concerns, answer them. But I think shadowing them all day, really learning, getting to know them a little bit probably went a real long way. So that's awesome. So now everybody's on board.
So that was 2019, that full year. Then COVID hit, and then it said, whoa, now instead of, desktop computers, let's go to Dell Small Business and order a bunch of laptops because everyone's going home.
Right.
And to your point, trust, even like taking the time, some of these people didn't really know how to set up things at home properly. Taking the time to be vulnerable and say, I'm here to help you. And there's some computers I went to their personal homes and helped them set up their workstation at home. And I think when certain people who have been working at a company for a while see you as a real person doing real people things, the trust barrier is then instantly kind of like you get over that hump, which I thought
Yeah.
was. So 2019, 2020 was a lot of really just earning the trust, building the technology. When COVID was kind of coming to an end, who knows, and no one knew when it was kind of coming to an end, we were actively hiring. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned that kind of before. To hire good people, you have to heavily, heavily consult the people that are already in the operation with a
Yeah.
small business. So I make sure that when we were that small, that almost everybody was involved in the decision. Now that we've gotten a little bit bigger and we've developed our departments, we have hired 9 people since that time, and we actually have 2 more coming next month. So departments now have become more of like your team. So, for example, we're bringing on another self-service admin to help with a lot of the day-to-day functions. The person who does that job every day is heavily involved in the vetting process.
Good.
Um, so I think that's where you kind of find that good talent.
So you went from 3 to 12 in what, a 3 to 4 year period.
Yep.
That's a lot of growth, right? I mean, that's a lot of people to come on board. Was that the design when they brought you on? They're like, hey man, you're going to come in and we want to get to, we're going to get to 10 people. Things are going well. I think we're set up for success. Scaling in this business can be really hard because you really have to manage your expenses. You got to bring on people that are going to be helping you pay the bills by selling policies. Then you have to manage them properly, those policies. And so scaling can be tough. What are some things, that you did right to go from 3 to 12 in a relatively short period of time? How are you finding good people? How are you getting them to do the job well? What kind of expectations do you have for them? Tell me about what those last 3 years are like and how you've grown.
Sure. Well, to answer your first question, there wasn't really any expectation on a hard number. It was very much an open canvas, but it was to scale and grow.
Okay.
And what I learned very early was that the job was getting done, but it was very much on the shoulders of a couple people who were kind of just doing it 20% here and there. So the idea of departments and account managers and systematic flows just kind of, it required more people to come on board. I think in the beginning, making sure that there were clearly defined roles was something that was never really, created. So I think by putting in things like an employee handbook, by putting in things like an employee agreement, by hiring around responsibilities, allowed people to have been there for a while, take a deep breath, and kind of just get out of that stress coma. There was a lot of stress coma work happening. That's what I used to call it. So we hired out with the intent of scaling to what the size that we're at. So we developed a personal lines department, which is a little unique. We developed the health and life department. We have a business owners and long hauling or trucking department. We have one person who just loves that risk and she writes a ton of it.
Right.
And then we have our small, medium, and then large size agents who write business insurance. So I did my research. I looked into Brown and Brown a little bit. I saw how they scaled, and I kind of mimicked a similar model where they are hyper-focused niche producers just writing maybe 3 to 5 products.
Yep.
It's allowed them to also reap the benefits of passing things under the Remco umbrella and getting referral commissions. So I try to have like more of an under one roof, multidiscipline practice, if you will,
Okay.
with the products. So,
well, that's smart. I know there are agents there. This is great because there are multiple ways you can run your agency. You can have a small agency, you can have a big agency, you can have different departments, you can have specialists, you can have generalists. Like there's no necessarily right or wrong way. It just comes down to what you want to build. And so, the route you've taken is you have your employees go really narrow instead of wide with the products that they offer and are, siloing essentially different departments. And so, what's some advice you have for someone? It's like, hey, I want someone to just be, my life and health specialist. Do you have one person, like, let's say you're creating a new department, right?
Sure.
Like I just want to do life and health. And we're going to have someone do that. Do you bring on like one person for sales and one person for service, or do you just do sales first and then they service it? And then when they get too busy, you bring on service. Like how does that work for you?
So the model is to answer, and the beginning of that is develop the clear metrics. The product that a home and auto agent sells cannot be compared to a product that a 15-person fleet trucking premium.
Sure.
Different. So I think what happened was, and you mentioned like there are some of these departments is just one person who's just like he writes the premium, he manages his book, and until that book gets large enough, do we entertain an account manager? But everything from the beginning is very clearly built. Congratulations, you just got the job here at Remco as a home and auto agent. Here are your monthly metrics. Here's a good month, here's a great month, and here's a to the moon month. And then, when your book gets to X, we will look for an account manager for you. Until then, you are producing and managing your own account.
Great.
And we let them know very clearly that any internal traffic sent to the other agents for products that, that agent doesn't write, they will get a referral fee. And it really does help build that cross-pollination on the book.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you bring on a service person for someone who's doing it, who's the only person in their department, they're doing everything, and then you bring on a service person, does that initial person supervise the service person, or do they work together? Like on the chart, are they level, or is it like they've got someone that can help them service? Like, what does that look like?
We'll still send out reports on a monthly basis too, that we call them the producer and the account manager. And that's kind of more of a sit down between the producer and the account manager and how they strategize on how they want to kind of attack their expirations. We stay ahead of them 90 days for the most part. And some of these larger accounts, we're doing, in-person policy reviews, which I think you mentioned are just fantastic if they'll come in. So I leave it up to the agent, the producer rather, and the account manager to come up with their unique system. We haven't had to come into a problem with retention. So if retention drops, I would say, let's take a look at your processes and figure that out. But I'm happy to say that giving them that trust, giving them that autonomy, retention's good, books are growing. I did notice that certain producers will rise to the occasion. One particular producer who's been doing it since, I joined she actually started in 2016. When she got an account manager, her numbers went up over 42% new business every month.
Yeah, that's
she was
great.
just out of the weeds. She was able to quote more.
Yeah.
And the accounts were getting serviced properly. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I was going to go somewhere next with all of that. So how many departments? I was going to talk about let's talk about hiring. Sure. Hiring salespeople it's hard. Like everybody thinks they can sell, like everyone I've ever hired, I believe they could do the job, but very few, rose to the top and stayed with me for more than a year. Good salespeople are very hard to find. And I really had to change my hiring processes to really try and figure out really how to identify if this person can really sell or not, or if they're selling me, a bill of goods during the interview. That drove me crazy for years. I was like, you sold me on the job. You told me you could do this job. You can obviously sell because you fooled me. Why can't you go out and sell this product? What kind of things have you done in the hiring process to really identify somebody who has the best chance to be successful in sales?
I personally think that there's a lot of harder products out there to sell than insurance. I think our product is something that is an easier sell. So I look for people who had careers previously in more difficult sales jobs. Car salesmen. Yeah. I found that car salesmen tend to be excellent insurance salesmen. Plus, looking for people who have a network already, or who are, I don't want to say a public figure, but they're well liked in the community. Maybe they're involved in some orgs. Maybe they're a soccer mom or a baseball dad coach, and so people who are well connected within a community. Our product is a law. So it's important to kind of just more reverse engineer the prospecting process, and take a look at your personal book, and then let them know you are an insurance related professional. And I think once you sink a couple, like you said, then the word starts talking. This guy's great. He saved me this much money. A claim came up. He was a hero. Kind of starts to work for you. But I looked for people in the community who were actively involved or sold a product that was a little bit more difficult than the insurance sale.
Yep, that's smart. Have you ever asked them to show their numbers to you? Like in their current job? Like that's something that I think that was one of the little tricks that I learned early in my career, whether they were coming from insurance or they were working at a bank or they were working at a cell phone store, wherever they're selling, whatever product they're selling. I'd like, what are your goals and what are your numbers? And can you prove those to me? So I'd ask people to bring in reports to show me, like throw it out on the table. Don't just tell me, I want you to show me.
That's excellent. I don't think I went to that extent, but I wanted to figure out where they were at. Like, did you get a base, or do you have a base right now? Okay, you don't have a base, you do have a base. That's a big question too, right? Yeah. Have you ever, maybe I'll post a question. Do you think you could rise to the occasion in 3 years? Would you be open to a commission draw? Would you be able to get paid, 50 your first year, 25 your second, and 0 your third? You think you can, build a life like that? But I try to figure out like where they need to be end of day, and then look at our some of our best sales producers and where they're at, and just be realistic with, I guess, their net at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe, like you said, what did you say? You said if you wanted to sell something and you were like, it was like almost like a life or death situation, you would figure it out.
Yeah.
You would figure it out. You would just do it. So I think when it really comes down to it, Matt, is just that some people are hungrier than others, and some people have to sell out of necessity, and some people sell out of luxury. So it's really just trying to figure out which ones you want on your team.
Yeah, that's good. So when you hire them and they earn the job, through the interview process, what's your onboarding process like? How do you give them the best chance to succeed? If they're coming into a new industry and they've got new products to sell, their new systems,
Sure.
they might have a network built out, but like what kind of metrics do you ask them to get to? What do you measure them on? And, how do you train them up? And then how long before you're like, all right, this isn't going to work? Like, what's the flow like in the first 90 days or whatever?
It is 90. So we are batting 1,000. We haven't had anybody have to leave.
Good for you.
Covered their number, but transparency, and really just being very clear. What I would say is 90-day probationary period. That's what we have, and that's how we kind of build it out.
Right.
And they're also assigned to, you can say, preceptor, mentor, or someone who's showing them the ins and outs of the business. So we found a sweet spot with home and auto agents who want to learn how to sell commercial. That's how we're going to continue to scale. So we've hired some people from the larger companies, Liberty Mutual, State Farm, and we've sat them with our principal agent who's been doing this for 40 plus years, and he just opens up his brain and unloads the commercial knowledge. And I think that that's just something that in an independent brokerage, like agencies like ours, like you can have that one-on-one personalized attention. A lot of the larger companies, the idea of investing in your help and growing the younger generation of insurance producers, I hadn't seen that. So the principal of the agency takes a lot of time to really train the person up and teaches them the ins and outs of how to get those commercial waters navigated. And then once they feel comfortable to actually sell it, I do a pretty good job of getting them out of the office, whether it's a networking event or we're hosting something, or this time of year, we'll do a Phillies tailgate or something like that. I like to see them out in the community and work the room, know how to do that. And in conjunction with their network, I really do only kind of look for people who have like some decent connections in the community and in their life, working those connections and getting some good testimonials,
Yep.
delivering on the first wins, your first 5 wins, make a big deal of them, congratulate them, let them know that this is something that can be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, going on testimonials. I've been meaning to do a podcast on this, and I'm going to. So thanks for the reminder. But I talked to I think it was a contractor or something that was doing, or I may have interviewed him. I can't remember how this idea came to me. It wasn't my idea, but I'll pass it on. I think it might have been from a glass company owner that I talked to, and he said that he sends his people out in the field, knowing that at the end of the job he has to ask for a review. And so knowing that he has to ask for a review, before the job even starts, I think really kind of primes the pump for him to make sure that he's going to do the best job that he possibly can, so at the end of every job, he has to send the link out to everybody. And you're not going to want to send that link out, if you do a terrible job, or if you're going to be a jerk, or if you're not going to take care of your client. I think that's a really good kind of primer mentality to have, before you go into a sales situation or service situation or whatever, so that your people know that, all right, I got to ask for the review. So let's make sure you want them to do it, properly anyway, and habitually, but to have that knowing they're going to send the link at the end, I think really helps, kind of galvanize that service that they're about to give, because they're going to ask, how did I do,
For sure. Yeah. And then it's just the asking. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to ask, but if you
Right.
deliver a good experience and they say, wow, this was great, you'd be surprised how many people. I'll listen to some of the agents talk on the phone and they're like, oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Ask for a review.
Right. Did you get the
Point where I got
review?
we got Remco coffee cups that says like ask for a review, and they're drinking the coffee just to help them remember. But those are really gold, and especially in this business too. So
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So give me a couple of marketing activities that someone on your team or a few people on your team that are doing right now that are really paying dividends. Like what is really moving the needle for some of your people right now?
absolutely. In your local chamber, business association, if you're a member of one of those, just join some committee. I have noticed a really good increase in a few members who actually got involved in getting in front of the room and not just being in the room.
Yeah.
So I would say that one of our members is actively a part of an ambassador program for one of our chambers, and he's really networking well in there and getting a lot of good connections.
Great.
Or on the technical side, I'm really happy with Google ad spend right now. Very
Okay.
happy with it. I just ran some numbers. Getting it tied into your Google business profile with those reviews, it's just really a double-edged sword. Like just making sure that you have good reviews and you're maybe spending some money on the Google space. We've seen a really good success on that.
Nice.
I've learned that people who go to Google, it's more it's more proactive, or they're actually trying to do something. Whereas your Facebook, your Instagram, it's more like interruptive.
Right.
I don't know a lot of people who are going on there trying to buy insurance, but I think Google is a good avenue to try to increase some calls into the agency.
Yeah. Do you have somebody that designs those ads for you? Do you guys do that in house? Like
I'm
who
not
works
sure. I'll
that?
give
Who
him a
does that?
shout out. I'll give him a shout out because we've been with him for 3.5 years. I got to know Cody Askins' team. If
Mm-hmm.
you deal
Oh
with
yeah.
any of
Yeah.
those guys,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, so I went to 8% a couple years. I got to know Landon. I got to know Cody. We were still with Secure Agent Marketing, so they actually do a lot of our design work for us. And then out there, I got connected with a really great guy, Luke Acree from Reminder Media, and those connections have just been really good for me.
Great.
So they're kind of my outsourced team.
Awesome. Well, it's good to build your internal team of people that are going to help you do all that. We all need our, business dialed in with the right profession. You have a good accountant and a good lawyer, and maybe someone that's good with helping you with your advertising and what some people have HR departments. And so, yeah, finding all of those types of parts of your business is important, especially as you grow, if you can outsource that. Are you guys doing anything with VAs yet?
No, I'm not. And
Yeah, I think
I
that's
thought
coming.
about it. It is
Yeah.
coming. It is
Yeah.
coming. Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah.
And potentially I probably possibly we could have entertained it for this most recent hire that we're talking about, but I need to look more into that,
Yeah.
and I'll leverage some other, industry professionals, see what they have to say about it.
Yeah, there's some good stuff coming. I know our industry is a little tough because of the data that we protect, and maybe some companies don't let VAs who live outside of the country have access to those systems, but they can still do quite a bit. And so that's something that I think it's really common just from a cost standpoint. You look at what it costs, and you're like, my God, this is so inexpensive for what they can do. It's just a matter of finding, the work for them to do, and if it's going to be the right work and all that other stuff. So there's some trial and error there, but it's coming.
And there's a trust thing too, right? It's like, can
Totally.
I give this away over there? You hear those calls. It's like, call
Yeah.
one of some of the larger companies, the Comcast or Verizon's in the world, and you have a bad experience, and you're just like, I'm never going to do this to my
Right.
business.
Like why would I ever do that?
So
Well, let's pull on that a little bit. Let's talk about hospitality. Okay. So as far as, our industry has kind of a magical quality to it if you're in this industry, because we will get paid as long as we keep someone happy, as long as they're paying their premium, you will get paid. And so it's different than if you're a mortgage broker or a realtor where you sell one and you're done. We
Mhm.
onboard a client and they're going to pay us as long as they're on the books. So you kind of, at some point, after you scale and after you grow, you're fighting this two-front battle. You're bringing in business, but you got to keep it, so what are your expectations for customer service? What kind of things are you guys doing, that might be out of the ordinary, that your peers aren't doing? How are you keeping your people like happy?
Yeah. I think we all think about it this way. We sell a piece of paper that no one wants to ever have to use, or we sell a digital
Absolutely.
copy of something. It's like going to a
Yeah.
store and buying something and just never opening it. So
Right.
when
It's like buying
you
tires, right? You're like, whatever. Like you
yeah,
got to buy them, but no one gives a crap about tires.
so true. So you sell them something, and you keep, even the carriers are like, we love safe customers. We love to sell them stuff and then never have to use it. So I think to
Right.
your one podcast point, be the hero that you say you are. When they need to use it, when they need to unbox their policy and their package and use it for what they need, one, make sure it's written correctly. And I've heard, your stories of how you've went to fight with the adjusters to get what your clients needed. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case or whether they just need your support, a one business owner to another one, go there and be there for them. There's one story that I tell time in, time out of a car wash that there was a tornado that came through Philadelphia that I can't believe I'm saying this, about 3 years ago, but it really devastated this guy's car wash. And he was a local business owner, called me at 11 o'clock crying, and I was about, I don't want to make myself sound too big of a hero, but I lived 5 minutes from him, but it was a Thursday night. I got in my car, I drove over there, and we just talked it out.
Yeah.
We got the claim with Nationwide opened, and he had excellent surveillance footage. So we submitted that literally through the phone that night. Pretty quick process, and Nationwide did their piece. A shout out to them, and they got him back to where he needed to be. And he just needed somebody there. He doesn't really have that support system. So I think just be there when duty calls. That'll take you a long way in this business. And two is, I know some agents, they'll shop it once a year, they'll look at it once a year. Some of them don't even look at it, but stay proactive with the renewal. Really do. Like, some people are like, oh, I don't want to poke them, I don't want to poke the bear, I don't want to get, more problems. But be proactive, be confident in your craft, reach out, have a conversation, ask them to come to the office, even if they don't. I think an agent who stays on top of their renewals and does so in a timely fashion will be a very productive and lucrative agent at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I asked my mentor years ago, I was like, I felt like I wasn't doing enough on that side, the hospitality side. And that was probably just me being hard on myself. I was like, Greg, what do I really need to do to make sure my people are happy all the time? He was like, Matt, he's like, you're doing it. Like, you just have to be there for them, answer their calls, return their calls, be timely, be kind, be educational, give them good advice, but just they need to know that you are going to show up for them when they need you. And like, that sounds so simple. And for some reason, some of our peers don't do that well. They feel like they're being bothered, if somebody calls with a question, or they feel like their customers are a pain in their ass or something like that. And it's like, this is what you signed up for starters, right? But just I think if you can be there for them, you can answer their calls timely, be kind, like, you're going to be in the top 20% of people in the service industry.
They pay you every year to be a certified pain in your ass if they want to be.
So right.
Really, exactly. They really are allowed to be, So
yeah.
Making sure you mention other businesses, and it kind of puts things into perspective. You don't go into a store and, buy something that, you don't intend to use. So,
right. What are some things you're doing to build culture? Culture is important. Like, I want my people coming in the office. I want them excited to come in the office. I want to smile and laugh, give them a hard time, but work hard, perform well. I want them to care about what's happening here.
Sure.
And that's not easy to build. You've got different personalities. You have 12 people, that's a lot of people, to manage. What if you have some that aren't getting, one bad apple can really derail things for a while and cause some problems. What kind of things are you doing in your space, to create an atmosphere that's exciting and fun and fulfilling, and that they feel value and joy and all that good stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Super interested to hear your side of this too, because I don't really know your side, but with COVID, we kind of forced us to be a little bit more flex with the in-office. And we have some agents, especially the agency principal, who loves a packed office. He just loves it.
Yeah.
And I get that. And the idea of even getting a larger space, because yes, we have grown, was a topic of conversation, but we didn't go that route. But I think there are some employees, especially in the service side of insurance, who can be more productive at a remote setting. So we did go that route with some, but then how do you keep them engaged and feel a part of the bigger picture? Coordinate in-person events at the office every so once in a while. Now,
Yeah.
the agents who are in there pretty much Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, also making sure that they have what they need in the office to get the job done. Small office sometimes, can be very loud. So if they have clients coming in, then it becomes a really, really, really interesting beast. So just making sure that they're comfortable when they come in, and that they want to come in.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a society right now where it's the uncommon to go into an office Monday through Friday. So communicate with the team, make sure it works with their schedule. I know some agents, they have husbands and wives who work from home and they do not want to be home, so they love coming in the office, and great. But outside of that, just making sure that everyone understands what like part they play in the larger piece, but that we're all like we're all a piece to the larger beast that's operating every day, and we
Yeah.
all kind of impact one another. So it's important that if people get frustrated, which I found out at their job, what the trickle down looks like. Just because you might get frustrated at this part of your job, if you don't do it, this is what happens. And
Right.
being very clear and transparent with the operations and how that impacts almost every person from the top down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The workforce really got turned upside down, obviously with COVID, and there were pros and cons to that. It really opened our eyes to what was possible. I've got one of my employees, moved in November. And I didn't want to lose her. She's one of the best employees I've ever had. And it was pretty quick to figure out, like, well, why don't you just work for me from North Carolina? That's something I would not have said, in 2016 or before. We didn't even know that was possible. So yeah, we packed her up with her phone and her computer, and like most of my clients don't even know she's gone. Like
I
they
was
come
just
in and they're shocked that she's not sitting at the desk. I'm like, well, and sometimes I don't even tell them. they're like, you're here alone today. I was like, yep, Meg's not here today.
was that difficult for you to make that decision initially? Did you feel like this might be a bad decision?
No, I felt pretty good about it because her and I have a really good relationship. Like there was no like hidden, like we really trust each other. She really, really loves working here. Like she told me, she's like, she's 60 years old and she's like, this is the best job I've ever had. She's like, you're the best boss I've ever had. And like, I don't take those words lightly. I was really proud to be able to provide that for her, So,
That's
so
huge.
when I threw that out to her, I was like, maybe you can still work for me. She felt this huge wave of relief. And I didn't know it was going to work. Like this was going to change things for us in the office. Is this going to change the flow of business when people come in here? We don't get a lot of walk-in traffic, so it really wasn't that disruptive. And she's
Sure.
still very hands-on. We talk every day through FaceTime and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's great. So I miss having her here. Like the energy here is a little bit different, but it's almost been a year now and it's been working just fine.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. The
It's
other
your
thing,
relationship that you had before, that
yeah,
built that trust. And then, you did mention the technology is definitely up to speed where there's certain management tools that you can make sure that things are, being dealt with properly. But it really all falls back on that trust that you have for one another. And that's why it
yeah.
works.
I think having them feel valued and important is it's not even a trick. It's just something that I've learned. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm the boss and like they work for me. Like I've never been that kind of presence. I've always wanted the business to feel like a collaborative effort,
Sure.
so I thank them for everything that they do well. I ask questions. Is there a way that we can do this better? And I've had employees bring on processes that I wouldn't have thought of, like, Matt, maybe we should try this, or let's try this. I'm like, heck yeah, let's try that. And then we try it and it works and we keep it, and it makes the entire business better.
And
And that makes them feel valuable. It makes them feel listened to and respected and all of that. And so they're never going to care about the business more than I do because it's my business, but I want them to care a lot,
Be
about it.
surprised. You would be surprised how close they do get to caring just as much as you. And I
Yeah.
think that that's really where it's at. So you really hit the nail on the head with the fact that you want to make them feel that their role is larger than the role. It
Yeah.
feeds into every bit of the agency, and it really does affect everybody. And I did mention top down, but that's not how it is. It really is just a collaborative unit of team members. I use the word team as much as I can in every email. Hi Remco team, hi team. They're you're all pretty much putting your effort in to achieve the end goal of being successful and loving your job. I think that that's important too. So I'm happy to hear that that employee you mentioned, she said this is the best job. That's when you're doing it right.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's really at risk with a lot of the technology that's come our way in the last 10 years is the lack of like true human communication, and being in the presence of a person is different than zooming. I'd much rather do this in my office with you sitting right in this chair face to face.
Maybe
I
one day.
think there's a different feel there. I think there is a risk of having like just pure remote work. I think people can get lonely, and like loneliness is a real problem. And, having the ability to shake someone's hand or give them a hug, pat them on the back, there's like, we're humans and we're social creatures. And this is kind of a pseudo, social interaction, but you can't replace. And it's the same for doing business. Like I'd rather sell to someone sitting across the table than over the phone or via text or whatever, which is the way I've built my business. And I probably will never change that.
Um,
We do have these tools that can help accelerate certain processes, but I hope, that kind of interaction really goes away, because that's where all the magic really happens.
That's where we click. That's definitely where we click. Not being able to use some of those technology pieces to supplement what you do is important, but not let them override your day to day. I mean, even I thought that it was genius, like answering somebody's question with a video. You sent that out earlier.
Yeah.
That's like a cool thing, but like would I rather be able to answer it in person and drive over to you and be like, hey, here's what's going on? Of course. But so I think if supplementally the technology is great, but don't let it take away from, your mission,
Yeah.
um, your agency. And that's similar. And it doesn't have to be, it's my mission. It's the way that I feel like it should be. It's the way that you feel like it should be. But you have also mentioned it. There's so many other agencies out there that do operate in those more cold call center mentality, large numbers, small, buying rates, and it works, but it's just not something I want.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want to pay somebody to do it. I wouldn't want to do it myself. I just, the
And that's where
turnover.
the VA comes out, and I'm just like, I feel like that's me selling my soul to the devil, and I just don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. Well, what does the future look like for you guys? What are your goals? Where do you guys want to be in the next 12 months? How are you going to get there?
Yeah. I mean, I really think we found a sweet spot. Our principal takes a lot of pride in teaching commercial insurance, so I do believe that that's going to be our main tool to scale. I don't think we're ever going to be a health or life or even home and auto agency. I really think we're a small, medium, large size business insurance agency, and that's really what I market when I do my in-person networking and on social. So I would love to shout out to any home and auto agents out there who have hit a ceiling with, Liberty Mutual, State Farm, Geico. I know that they could really just run into the ground. There is a higher value product, and if you know how to sell it with the right training, it's a good life. Business owners are very fun to deal with, and I've learned that quickly. So that's kind of our scaling model. Really, just try to teach those home and auto agents commercial insurance and kind of make our way down the East Coast. That would be ideal.
Nice. All right, buddy.
Yeah,
I'm all out of questions.
this was
Cheers.
excellent. Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. You're doing a hell of a job for starters. Like coming into it, like you had a great background coming in with your hospitality. What a great foundation to come into. But to learn a new industry, to learn it with patience and kindness and grace, come into an established business like you did, and to really seamlessly kind of come in and then take it by the reins and move it is really impressive. So kudos to you for doing that. I can tell you really care what you're doing. I can tell that you really want to learn more. I can tell that you're using the resources, and the team that you've got are lucky to have you, and so is the agency. So I appreciate you spending some time with me today and sharing your story. This is just all really good stuff for other people to learn from. So
Thank you.
thank you for coming in, man.
Keep doing your thing because those are the resources that I lean on. This is something that helps me become better at my job. So don't stop doing your thing, Matt. All right.
I won't. I put another one out today for you, so you'll find it.
Excellent. 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 All right.
All right,
Thank you
buddy.
so much for your
Thanks.
time.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Peace.
Oh. Well, there you go. Jay, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your experience. What we do is tough. And to have you come in with the mentality of hospitality, I think is just the best way to do it, because that is a tough industry too. It's so competitive, and you really have to rise above to grow businesses in the hospitality world for people to want to come back. And that's what we're trying to do here. So appreciate your insight. You guys are killing it. Hey, my name's Matt. This is Agency Launch. You can find me all over the place. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dietz Agency. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. Please send me a text, 208-213-8809. Get into my texting community. That's how I connected with Jay. I'm telling you, I'll reach out with you guys. We'll connect. And also, don't forget about Agency Launch at agencylaunch.net. It's my full-blown training program where I can get you where you want to go significantly faster than if you choose to walk that path by yourself. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. Keep up the good work.